What's up, you nerds? Thanks for downloading and listening up. This week we talked about Avengers.
We talked about the new Mutants stuff, whether or not it's going to come out.
Probably not.
We also talked about some Mortal Kombat.
Yeah,
and
the new Mortal Kombat movie.
They have the castings finally starting to roll in.
And we also made a decision that we're all going to see Street Fighter movie.
Woo. Yeah.
And then do an episode on the Street Fighter live action.
We'll watch the Street Fighter old school 1995, I think it was, Street Fighter movie.
Sounds about right. It was like just a couple years after MK.
Yeah, I had the soundtrack.
So stick around and listen.
Soundtrack?
Yes.
Check out this episode.
So hey everybody, you'll be hearing upset customers who waited for 20 minutes to get their orders because we're at Sonic today.
And there's music playing, which is not normal, even though they have the speakers. I don't know.
Yeah, speakers pointed the other direction. They're making up for it with half-off shakes. I abstained from the shakes for now, but we'll see.
Oh, I didn't realize they were half off.
Yeah, there was. It was on the screen. I guess your guys' screen was broken because the one I ordered on is like you had to like swipe it away, But
I never paid for my food, by the way.
So let's see how far we go before you have to pay for your food.
Just see how far they're gonna.
Maybe I should order there too. I'll order on this one next time. Anyway, hi.
Nerd stuff.
Yeah, Josh is back from vacation.
Hey, we missed last week.
Do you feel relaxed?
No, absolutely not. Because we drove 5,500 miles.
Oh.
For like 2 weeks. I was literally driving almost every single day.
Yeah.
There was like 4 days or 5 days at the end where like, before we left for home, I was like, I don't have to drive. My aunt and Angie's like, let's go to like Indiana Beach or something. And I'm like, no, I'm not driving to Indiana Beach.
I was gonna say, you made a special trip for Indiana Beach?
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
I put the kibosh on that. However, they did go to like Shipshawana again. It was like an Amish town.
I remember Shipshawana.
Anything Amish is usually pretty good.
Well,
is it food and stuff?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
There's like restaurants. There's they had like crafts, the flea
stores,
market.
flea markets.
That was when I think that was the first like seed of Rod should be vegetarian because they had like I remember it being at a restaurant eating some like really great meatloaf and I was like mowing down and then a cow walked by the window and like looked me dead in the eyes.
He's like, George.
Yeah, and I was like, and I think my little head put it together. I'm like, oh. And of course later, like now it's not because of that, but it's like health stuff. But like, I think at the time I was like, I rather like had this disconnect from it, you know.
Like that Mr. Burns where he's like, I want that steak, and then they kill the cow.
Yeah.
Maybe that one.
So
kill that one too.
I don't know like what else. I know Endgame came out on Blu-ray and streaming all that stuff. I got it. I waited for the Blu-ray.
Did you get it?
Yeah. And
I had it in the cart the other day, but we had spent so much money like driving around. I was like, things are a little tight. Maybe I'll buy it next week.
Yeah, I had trigger yet. I had just like saved for it because I knew it was coming out, and also the mild OCD in me. The packages are identical, so it like they look good together for Infinity War.
Yeah.
So like I have Infinity War and Endgame. I literally haven't played either disc.
No.
I just wanted to own them, and they have the digital, of course.
Yeah.
But
we use that normally anyway. But I like having the discs just in case, because I know at some point in time, like Google changes all the crap all the time. They're like, hey, you know that cool thing that we made last year? Guess what? We're ending it.
Oh yeah.
So we have a lot of stuff on Google Play, but like, and we had Voodoo for a while. I think it was not Voodoo. It was some other thing, Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet, yeah.
And like they just recently closed.
But you could transfer all your stuff. To
We've transferred it to Fandango now.
Yeah, so I have a Movies Anywhere account. And if you don't have that, I highly recommend it because it links all your accounts and puts all the movies everywhere.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Like,
is that a Disney one? Because I thought Movies Anywhere is a Disney one.
It might be run by Disney, but I think it's a collaboration between a bunch of studios.
Okay.
So it's like Disney and like Fandango and Amazon and all the places I buy. So all the places I would buy movies, like I just see where they'd be the cheapest.
Yeah.
Buy it there, and then it adds it to all my other libraries.
Oh, weird.
So I tend to like have all my stuff in iTunes, but like I'll have like Amazon messes up my orders all the time. So they give me credits all the time. So I'll order like digital movies from there a lot, and then it'll sync and then like add to my iTunes library automatically. But the iTunes version. So like I'll get the Amazon, it just might be standard.
Yeah.
But if iTunes has like extra special features, I'll still get those.
Oh, weird.
Because it syncs the whole movie. So it's Movies Anywhere. It's a beautiful account.
I'll have to take a look at that then.
And then recently I did like a piggyback where I piggybacked my Ultraviolet stuff. It's funny. The only thing I had my Ultraviolet account was the Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, I think I got the same one for free.
And the Green Lantern like animated film that came with it.
Because it came with it.
And So then I transferred it to Vudu and then like synced it to the Movies Anywhere. So now it's on my iTunes. Like,
Did you also get Matchstick Men?
I don't think I.
Because I think there was also a thing where you get that one for free, and like it was a good movie. It was just funny because like it was like $5 bin movie, you know, like nobody remembers it anymore.
I think I also at some point because we were thinking about seeing was it Calvin and Hobbes or Hobbes and Shaw?
Hobbs and Shaw.
Calvin and Hobbes.
And I was like, I don't know if we need to watch the other like 25 Fast and Furious movies before seeing this. And then I realized like, oh, I have Fast and Furious 8 in my library because of Movies Anywhere. Because if you get a promo from like Fandango, like sign up for an account and get like 3 free movies, it'll just like drop them into everything.
Yeah.
So it's really nice.
I haven't seen most of that franchise. I want to actually watch them. I do want to watch them.
To be honest, I think I've only ever seen the first one. I know I've seen parts of the other ones just put together, but like the first one was fun. It was around that like Gone in 60 Seconds era, like to where like cars were cool again, and then like then it became more than just a car movie. It became like the superhero almost movie.
The first Fast and Furious movies were kind of like it was like one tick above reality. Like that car. Maybe if I was a little high,
maybe it could
would
make
be able
that
to do
jump.
that. And then like by the third or fourth, I think Tokyo Drift maybe Scott Nicewander, if you're watching this, you're a huge Fast and Furious fan. Maybe you can correct me. I think Tokyo Drift is where it began. Like they're just gonna like defy reality completely.
Well, that's the one that didn't have what's the main guy? Vin Diesel until the very, very end. He was in it for like 10 seconds.
The one was like Ludacris.
It might have been. I didn't see it, but
Tyrell or something.
No, that's the second one.
Anyway, so with the end game, I went through and watched a few of the special features. There's so many, so that's really good. We're watching out for our order.
They calling me out. Where's my food?
And like, what did I watch? I watched like the things that we saw on the re-release of Endgame. They put them on there, like the Stan Lee thing.
Stan Lee thing was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
And then what else did I watch on there? I'm getting stuff mixed up because I also got Lion King digitally, so I was like watching special features from that.
Do they still have like? Because back in the day when you had VHS and even into DVD, they had like the Disney Vault. Does that still exist, or can you buy all the Disney movies now online?
I don't know because I thought that the Vault was still a thing, but
for a long time they had them all on Netflix.
Yeah,
and they come here and there,
I think they're still there until the end of this year when Disney Plus happens.
Okay.
What a little bit of news there. Some people might have already seen this. I don't know if you guys saw it, but Disney Plus finally announced like their package deal with Hulu.
Oh yeah.
So now you got Hulu, ESPN, and Disney Plus for $12.99. Not too bad. I don't care about the ESPN part, but
I wonder
even just for like Disney Plus and Hulu together, that's a pretty decent deal.
Is it an add-on though? Like, because since I have Spotify, I have Hulu.
Yeah, I don't know how that.
So then, do I have to? I
might have to like pick one of the packages.
Or maybe it'll be like a $2 upcharge or something.
We've made the full circle back to cable packages again.
Oh gosh, that's what I've seen. That's kind of annoying. I saw T-Mobile the other day. It's like, oh, we have cable now, and I'm like, no, we're getting out of this.
This is like one of the. It's what it reminds me of is one of those restaurants that have too many things on the menu.
Yes.
Like what one do I pick?
My favorite special feature, though, so far that I've seen on the Endgame DVD is the deleted scene from when, spoiler, for some reason you haven't seen Endgame, when Tony dies. Have you seen that? Or did we watch
when
that?
everybody kneels.
Did we watch that on this podcast?
I don't think we did. But I watched it when it came out. I think it dropped like the same day that the DVD came out.
I think they used it as a promo for it. It like made me like cry all over again.
And I read in here I have somewhere I read the reason that they didn't include it was it felt when they were attached it felt too much like the funeral. The funeral
it was
scene.
redundant.
So we're like, oh man, that's so sad. Because then you get to see Gamora too. Because if you watch this, I'm sure it's online because I saw it online. If you watch
it was worth getting the Blu-ray or whatever.
Yeah, definitely.
Either way.
If you watch it, you actually see Gamora kind of like take off while everybody's kneeling.
So she didn't get dusted.
Yeah, she didn't get dusted.
No, we don't know if these deleted scenes are canon yet. Yeah. But
you'd probably figure they were, but...
I think so. Like, it makes sense because Kevin Feige was talking about how so people have all these weird logistical questions now about the blip.
Yeah.
But like, so were people who were in the airplanes 5 years ago just die because they reappeared 30,000 feet in the air? And he was like, no, because Professor Hulk is smart. So when he brings people back, he thought to bring back safely.
Oh, got it.
Easy answer. so like people who are like in trains or cars, or they don't just like reappear on the highway and stuff like that. Like they end up somewhere
Safe.
remotely safe and whatever, which might be a fun mechanic to play in future movies. But I think with the Gamora, I thought the idea was that maybe Tony snapped away all evil in that, or people, people who were on Thanos' side,
and not just.
And at that time, Gamora had already like switched. Good lucky for her.
She was also.
True that.
You would think too, though, she's kind of been a good guy for a long time, or at least trying to be.
Yeah.
Behind the scenes, how can I get rid of Thanos kind of deal for a long time.
Always been fighting her heart.
I'm interested in seeing what that is, because I see what you're saying, but I feel like right now it's kind of like we don't know just yet, because like I could see a struggle, but the outward actions, she was still like helping him find the Infinity Stones, you know.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure about comics wise, because I didn't read any of that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, yeah, in this movie though, I mean like I see what you're saying with some of the struggle, but and then at the end clearly she like diverts, but like I wonder how long that's been ticking, or
exactly.
like if it was still like, I don't know, you go along with something you don't agree with until you're like, this is the last straw,
Right.
But that was really cool. Then there was they have featurettes on each of the main actors and stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there. I'm trying to remember what else.
I want to watch that director's commentary.
Yeah. Hey, you did get your order.
I did get my
How
order.
did you get your order before?
I don't know.
I ordered before him. Mine's still. I just had a pretzel and a drink, and I paid already. It's really the drink I was looking forward to.
This is gonna make me thirsty.
These pretzels are making me thirsty. Hello, 90s.
Yeah. I think the big new news, as far as things we've talked about on here in the past, is they finally started doing more casting for the Mortal Kombat movie.
Yes.
So they have, I don't know the guy's actual name, it's something like super Asian. He was a Power Ranger and he was in Black Mirror this season. He's being cast as Liu Kang. There's a gal I've never heard of
Ludi
before.
Lin?
Yeah.
There you go.
And then there's a gal I'm not familiar with that's Melina.
Yeah. Which apparently is somewhat problematic, isn't it? Because she's black, and isn't she like supposed to be the? Isn't Melina supposed to be like the clone of Katana?
Yes. So that. See, here's the thing. Okay, with that specifically, Melina is like a clone, but also a hybrid of a Tarkatan, which is what Baraka is.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell Baraka is like supposed to be like. So that could be messed around with. So I did see some comments that are like, oh, she should be lighter skinned in this instance because of this. But like, I don't know. Some people argue that like.
Thank you.
Some people argue that she would make a better Jade, but I'm not the casting guy, and James Wan. For like the crap I gave Aquaman movie, they did a pretty good job casting. So I'm going to see what story they have there. Then on the other side of things, Mortal Kombat in general, like everyone is fairly like fluid in their whatever their origin is, because they're all, with the exception of like the handful of Earth Realmers, they're all like ethereal, like heavenly beings, gods, aliens, and stuff. So like Katana has been like 4 different races, and I don't really mind that. And I think the general consensus is like, what is she going to be this game? Like the MK11 is the first time that I've known that she's been like clearly Eastern Asian, even though like she's specifically Edenian, which is a whatever. They made it up for this game. One of the things that surprised me most though is the guy that they got to play Raiden, or I guess they're still in final talks though, so it might not go through, but they're pretty certain. He was in Thor Ragnarok, and he's very Asian, very East Asian. Which I think if you don't know Mortal Kombat, you're like, oh, that makes sense. The guy with the Big Trouble in Little China hat. What's weird is Raiden has never been Asian of all the things he's been. I mean, it's somehow he was one of those characters that like after the movie they kind of like cemented. Like Kano became Australian after the movie. Raiden became like a white guy after the movie. Even in the games, he was played by. I don't know if he was white, Carlos, but I think he was a Pacina, so he might have been Hispanic or something. I'm not sure. He wasn't an Asian guy. But
when was the first game you heard their voices?
I mean, technically
Kind
the
of
first
heard
one.
them the first one,
Yeah. But their voices weren't always matched. So like one person might do the voice for 3 characters they didn't play or something.
Okay.
Like Ed Boon is the guy that says, "Get over here" for Scorpion.
I have to take a look at my pictures because I went to, on my trip, I went to this arcade called the Galloping Ghost Arcade. It's like one of the biggest arcades in America. And it just keeps getting bigger every year. They just added an entire building of pinball.
Holy crap.
It's huge, and I love this place. It goes on forever. But they have pictures of all the people that did the voices for Mortal Kombat.
Oh, yeah?
And they had like a book of like some original guy that was in the first, either was in the first movie or he might have even been like one of the guys that was filmed or whatever for the games.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I have to take a look at that.
Probably, was it Daniel Pesina?
Sounds familiar.
He played Johnny Cage and a bunch of other people.
No. I think it was guy played either Liu Kang or
Ho Sung Pak?
maybe.
So
I'll have to look it up.
He's out here. He's still a working actor. Actually, we were supposed to do some videos with him for our YouTube channel, but he's very busy, so maybe still someday.
Yeah, I hope that happens because that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna say that it's like wrong that Raiden's Asian. It's just interesting that this is the first time they've actually just gone that way. So we'll see. I'm trying to remember if they cast Sub-Zero way before. James Wan's doing it. They have a date of March something 2021, which still blows my mind that before you even film a single shot, you can have a release date. I would be stressed out.
You have to plan it out. I mean, all movies, I'm sure, like that. We want it released by this time.
Yeah.
But then again, they can push it back. I mean, what's that Fox all New Mutants movie?
New Mutants.
That's still not. They're supposed to actually do reshoots. They haven't even done the reshoots
Did you
yet.
see the latest about that? Apparently, Disney said that supposedly, I don't know, allegedly Disney rewatched the newest whatever they did of it and said it's not worth investing in the promotion for. So it might just quietly appear on Hulu or Disney Plus or whatever.
That's been the thing all along. Is like it should be just kind of like a straight to Hulu thing.
Yeah, they said it just wasn't of quality to promote. Like, because they need to spend as much money as they do on the film to promote it.
I don't think it's what Disney wants.
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be like a haunted house kind of vibe.
I think if it was that, but good,
But it's
then they
Disney.
would. You know, I mean Disney. I mean, not it wouldn't be under the Disney banner; it'd be under Marvel, right?
I don't know what it'd be. I mean, it'd technically have to be under.
I think if it was a good movie, there would be other talks. But I've only heard one person, and this is a friend of a friend, so I don't even know how true this is, that saw an early cut of it, and they're like, it was great. I'm like, that's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else has been like, maybe not. Maybe let's pretend this didn't happen. You know? Or this just, if we're going to spend all this money on reshoots, do we just do the original idea that the guy had? It seemed to be kind of cool. I'm still down for the horror movie idea.
I want Nicolas Cage as Cabal.
Maybe 10 years
cover
ago.
up the space. Actually, speaking of switching subjects just a tad, they're doing a Snake Eyes movie.
Oh, yeah.
I got that on here too.
Henry Golding is going to be Snake Eyes. Mm-hmm. He was the star of Crazy Rich Asians.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, that's great, diversity in casting. Because Snake Eyes was a white guy. I guess he was a blonde white guy. I didn't know that.
I know
saw the comic. Someone showed his comic. I guess his face is all messed up.
Like a Deadpool vibe. I just thought he was always in the costume.
Yeah, well, no, he wasn't like Deadpool, like he just had scars, But I guess the problem people have been putting on Twitter is like, well, you're gonna cover up his face because that's Snake Eyes. You got like one of the most handsome men on earth, and you're just gonna put a mask on him for the whole movie. Also, he's not supposed to talk.
Yeah.
So, you know what'd be cool is if it was all narrated by
Henry Golding.
Yes.
Or you find out he's not. They do an old school Mandarin. This Trigger Josh.
I just don't think it's a good idea.
It should be Morgan Freeman.
G.I. Joe movie sucked.
If I didn't think of it as a G.I. Joe movie, it was fine.
I didn't think
It
they
really
were
wasn't a
horrible.
G.I. Joe movie. I mean,
It was a rock movie.
that was the second one.
Oh,
The first one.
they blurred together to me.
Yeah. It was weird. It was such a weird movie. It wasn't like G.I. Joe's like American heroes, and they're like, oh no, we're G.I. Joe World Force now. So it's like, okay, you're already kind of like changing it a little bit, so it feels like it has a different vibe. And then they had all these funny the suits where they could run really fast, and they had like the weapons that were just kind of like Chitauri kind of like weapons that were like people would disappear, and it was just odd.
It reminded me of like if they came out with a comic of that same script, it would probably feel normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this weird story about the world of G.I. Joes.
Although I remember as a kid, this is in the late 80s, everybody's saying like, G.I. Joe, the real American hero. And none of the adults in my neighborhood could answer to me why there were so many ninjas in the All-American Hero Troop.
There's only one ninja.
Two.
Snake Eyes.
And then Storm Shadow?
Yeah, he's a bad guy.
Oh,
That's his brother.
I didn't know that.
And
I had the action
who's
figures.
Asian.
Who's Agent.
Oh,
In the movie.
okay. I don't know.
So this is why I didn't think like that he was. I thought that he was Asian because Snake Eyes I don't think I ever saw him
I know.
outside of it.
I know.
It took a long time
His
ago.
face got all effed up. But there's so many different origin stories of Snake Eyes.
And they're
They're probably just going to make another one.
Yeah, I mean, this might have been a different continuity for the comics as well.
Yeah.
Because the screenshot I saw was a comic book thing.
I'm not sure if they have any kind of real continuity. There's no like, I don't know if there's a. Correct me if I'm wrong. If there's a 616 of the G.I. Joe universe, you know.
I don't really think it even got that large to have such thing.
I mean, you got with Transformers. Sorry, I got poo in my mouth. With Transformers, you definitely have like an old school. I can't remember what they call it, like it was a GS1 or something like that, Generation 1. Kind of like you have that, and then you have Beast Wars and everything else that they
Transformers went a lot farther, I feel. I wonder why G.I. Joe never came back.
I mean, it does whenever the movies happen.
Yeah, but they never like continued a cartoon.
Yeah.
Same with the X-Men. Like, how long has it been? 20 years now?
No, they had
93?
X-Men, Wolverine and the X-Men was the last X-Men cartoon.
Oh, you know what
wasn't
they
bad.
have?
They did Evolution.
Actually, yeah, the Evolution. So they have done X-Men. That's right.
Well, they did Evolution, and then they did Wolverine and the X-Men probably 10 years ago, almost now.
And then even
it wasn't
the
a bad. They only did
Avengers.
one season of it, but it wasn't bad. And it was weird, that weird era where like Wolverine was still really, really popular. To where like, hey, let's put Wolverine in charge of the X-Men, and I thought that was going to be really lame. But you watch the season, and it really makes sense because like Professor Xavier is like in a coma, but he's kind of communicating. Like they lost Jean at least at the beginning, and so Scott's kind of like off, and
he's all messed up.
He's communicating to Xavier in the future. So Xavier's in the future, and they're trying to stop like a future like apocalypse kind of thing. So it's a really good. It's only one season. It's really good.
I know Avengers did a few things. I remember, what was it, like Avengers Assemble? There was like another Avengers, Heroes of the Earth or something like that.
Avengers United We Stand was the one that was right after probably the Spider-Man and Silver Surfer cartoon that they had in the 90s. Is awful. It's got that whole like vibe, you know, like from back in the day. Whenever the bad guys talk like that.
Like an episode of Batman, the TV show.
Practically like that.
Even though I love that show.
And Ant-Man's in charge in that version. It's so weird.
I love plastic cheese sauce.
Yeah, you can have this. It tastes really weird. But then they had my favorite Avengers cartoon is Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
That's what it was.
It's the better one. It actually started as like just a little mini series to like kind of introduce the Avengers, and the last like of the 8 episodes was like them coming together and like defeating Graviton. So like it was really good because then they went on to like do like 50 something episodes. And that's about the time that the Avengers movie came out, and it blew up, and they canceled it and started doing Avengers Assemble, which is just, I mean, the cartoon looks okay, but like the storylines
are
like,
kind of funky.
It lost me when Black Widow and like Falcon or someone else was fighting over cookies that Falcon's mom sent in.
Yeah.
You lost me right there.
I didn't keep track of any of these cartoons.
2 kids, 2 kitty. I mean, like the cool thing about the X-Men cartoon and everything else was like you could watch it with your parents. My dad would be like, he'd like lean in and like just slowly sit down like next to me, like, hey, how's it going?
The 93 animated series. Yeah. Actually, if you watch the video we did with NerdSync about the X-Men theme song, there's a quote from the showrunners that said that and actually Ron Wasserman said this as well, that the key was to not write down to children. Like, they wrote a good show, and kids would just watch it because it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like, kids would watch Family Guy. Kids would watch, Secret of Nim. Like, Secret of Nim was, like, dark as hell.
Yeah.
But, like, we watched it as kids, and then it wasn't until I was in college, I was like, that was messed up. Like, why my parents let me watch that? But we didn't care. And I don't think we absorbed anything but what we wanted to as kids, from that. I mean, granted, like, if there was, like, some violence, I mean, there was violence, but if there was, like,
violence they would freak out about sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I
Moms
guess
would.
I got a
like
great
like
story
like
for
if
this
the
stuff.
lead mouse was like just like shooting people and stuff, then I think that might have stuck. But like the darkness of it didn't necessarily stick
true.
with us. You know, like it was just like there's mice running around in a field and a funny bird and like, you know.
I was gonna say I loved when my dad, like, it'd be me and my dad on the couch and my mom, and my dad would like flick through flick through the channels, and he'd put a movie on, and he'd be like, oh, and then we start watching it, and the first thing my mom says, is this rated R? Is there nudity in it? And of course my dad's like, nah, it's no. And then that awkward moment when you're with your parents and boobs are on screen, and my mom starts screaming, and my dad just laughing like, hey.
I was gonna say, like, my parents wanted to go see Blue Lagoon when it came out in theaters.
Nice.
And so they were like, well, we're gonna take the kids because we don't trust white people. So, like, so I didn't have a babysitter at the time, so I just went with them.
Went to see Blue Lagoon.
Wow,
Holy
that's
crap.
a very sensual movie.
Yeah.
I think I like vaguely remember the woman undressing at the beach, but I was so young. Like, I think at the time I might have even just like, I think I was just like, oh, she's changing clothes, you know, like
I watched Basic Instinct with my dad.
that might be a little bit more
A
aggressive.
little more. I watched. It was a movie that had Bill Murray and Dan De Niro in it, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a serious movie, and it was like weird that Bill Murray was being serious in the movie. And he was actually, I think he was the bad guy. I think.
Interesting.
And so I think it was called Mad Dog and Glory. I think is what it was called.
Interesting.
And my dad, we were watching it, and then like all of a sudden out of nowhere, they were like freaking going at it. Like, and my dad's like, "Oh my god!" Like over. I think I was in like 5th grade or something at the time.
I'll see. That was fine. You're getting the talk anyway.
My dad
I never got to
take
talk.
the blame.
Yeah,
I'm so happy he got the ass whooping.
I mean, that was the time when you got like the pamphlet from school and stuff. So like,
I
it's
never
all
got a
coming together.
pamphlet either. Where
Really?
It's when my teacher put a condom on a banana, you know.
That messes
Never.
things up. I remember in our health class. This wasn't sex ed. It was in health class. I will never forget. Mrs. Walker was trying to explain STDs to kids, and this is in Central Indiana. So their euphemism was she had like 6 things of like different colored paints, and she had a paintbrush, and she was like, "So what we're trying to say, kids, is like every time you mess around with a different partner, colors get kind of muddy until they all just turn really like a dark mud color and stuff." And I was like, "This is weird." Like it's like you just take one to the other, and I'm like, I get the STD reference, but the image you're putting in my head is that a piece of like this person goes into this person and this like, I don't know what to connect from that.
you had to clean yourself.
In a very small sense, true. There are some like weird ass, because I like conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and I guess this kind of falls under that. But I've read a bunch of articles about people who have sex with a bunch of people. When you have sex with someone, then you like a piece of you or like your essence or something, a part of your body stays with that person, whether it's like emotionally or physically. So a piece of you always stays with that person.
I believe the emotion thing because there's a lot of friends that are like, it's just a one-night stand, and it's usually not that. Like usually someone's like, I'm in love with her, she was gonna be okay, sure, whatever. Like,
I read some psychological paper once, or they were talking about when you have intercourse that like you basically imprint with the other person.
That's
kind of.
And
so like if you're doing that a lot and then like try to have like a long lasting relationship, it kind of messes a little bit with that because your body would generally like, okay, I want to die for this other person kind of deal, and you're gonna feel more indifferent is what they were basically saying because of that. Because of how often you've been imprinting with other people, you don't feel as connected to that other person. That's what I was reading. I don't know.
I don't know if we got on that
how true
subject.
I don't know why we're talking about that.
I was also thinking of what superheroes like have problems like
All
that.
of them.
yeah.
Because like we know Superman was kind of just like a one-woman girl.
A woman
As of recent, like it's been
Superwoman.
Wonder Woman, yeah.
A one-woman guy. He could be a girl.
He just hasn't yet. We're waiting for that casting.
Oh, damn Lord.
Actually,
We have
that kind of
Supergirl, I
reminds
guess.
me. Did you hear there's rumors about Henry Cavill might be coming to the MCU? I don't know as what.
I don't know. I've seen a million things like that.
That'd be hilarious. Oh, and then actually, speaking of Gemma Chan, might be the first actress to play 2 different characters in the MCU movies.
Oh yeah,
Because she was Minerva in Captain Marvel.
Marvel.
And she's being in talks for the Eternals, but they don't know what role. So unless they somehow bring Minerva back, or it was in the past or something, it's probably going to be something different. And I guess for me that kind of works in the sense that Minerva was like so made up, like it could be a different person, you know.
I didn't even know it was Gemma Chan at first.
But she's also so great. Like, if anyone's gonna like kind of break through like the color barriers as just a great actress, I'm glad it's her, because she was great in Crazy Rich Asians. She was, I mean, as good as she could be in Captain Marvel with that small role she had, and then she was.
Well,
in
I know there's
Mary
already
Queen of
people
Scots.
that have kind of jumped between roles. I mean, if you talk about Star-Lord's mom. Was in Captain America, the first Avenger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And so she was like, I think she was one of the girls. I don't know if she's the one that kissed him, but she like asked for like his autograph or something like that. So
okay.
she was in the first. She was in that one, and then you also have who's the lady in Luke Cage?
Oh, Alfred Woodward.
Yeah.
So they were talking about just in the movies.
Just in the
But I
movies
didn't know that
alone.
about Captain America, though.
Yeah.
That's
There's been a
interesting.
couple other ones too, but they tried to link them together to where like the guy that's in the Spider-Man Far From Home, his teacher, was in the first Hulk movie.
Okay.
So they're trying to link those together.
Wasn't there something else with like like relatives or something in one of the? I can't remember. I'll have to like for next time look it up. There was something where like there was a character in present day, and we saw a movie from the past. In a previous movie, there was like another character, and they linked them as like relatives because he had like a picture in his desk or something.
Oh, weird.
But
I do that stuff all the time, and I'm like, there was this one part in like Civil and the Winter Soldier where they're like, the guy that was driving this truck was the Punisher, and I'm like, is this supposed to link to anything, or did you just say that out loud? Like, that was the Punisher driving by.
That's like that video you watched about like the new Easter egg in Endgame or something, and you like clicked into it and it was like completely stupid.
So, I'm going to start with a dumb Easter egg, and then I'll segue to something that I think is a little bit cooler that was kind of retconned because of fans. So the dumb one, I on my Facebook feed knows my number. Like, it's just like, this is what you want to see. And so it was like, here's a new thing about Endgame you didn't notice. Because there were, actually I thought of another cool one. But this one said like, how Nebula and Tony Stark's like paper football game helped them win Endgame. And I was like, okay, I'll buy it, maybe. You know, there's a lot of stuff in that movie. So I clicked on it. So their thing was, in the beginning when they were playing paper football and they were flicking stuff, like they obviously had a lot of time to do it. They were stuck up there for like almost a month or something. And then fast forward when they time travel and they're in New York in 2014, and Ant-Man gets small and goes on Tony's shoulder. He's like, flick me, and he flicks him. He's like, all that practice paid off. I'm like, I hate this already. I'm like, dislike the site, like vote down. Like,
This is why they were successful.
So one of the cooler ones was someone had a theory that at Peggy Carter's funeral, the pallbearers, like one of those guys was Captain America, and I think they were like, it wasn't that way, but now it is.
Exactly.
Because that's a cool idea.
Because the guy that actually, there's like an older guy that looks from the back that looks similar to him, but you know they weren't thinking that far back, obviously.
But that's the cool thing, because the same thing with the little kid in the Spider-Man mask was like,
it's supposed to be Peter
Parker, you know.
But they never like included that ever.
I think like after the fact, 5 years, somebody was just like, that's a good one, let's do that. You
exactly,
know?
but it's like they never included it in the movies.
Yeah. A cool real one though that people recently found because the home release is out. There's 1 year on the like the time machine when Nebula, the bad Nebula, comes back and pulls up the thing. They have all the years for every other time that everybody went to, and then there's one that says 2988.
Oh, I didn't see that.
And it was like, so what happened there?
Yeah.
So that might just be something they put in there to use in a later movie that someone like snuck off and did something, checked something.
But they only had so many like Pym particles to do it.
Yeah, but we never heard exactly the number they had. They said they had enough for like X number of trips or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was like, or was that the test trip? Or no, no.
No, the one test trip was Clint.
But what was the test trip? Or did he just shrink?
Yeah, accidentally. He's like,
so I guess
crap.
there's something, but they said like on the computer they had all the other years they visited, and then that one, and I was like, so what happened there? You know? So that's cool. Like I did notice that in the studio, in the movie theater, and then someone in like Reddit or whatever like was watching and noticed that, and then someone else noticed like little. It's not even really Easter eggs. It's just like attention to detail. Because this is something I watched in the behind the scenes. They were talking to the gal that plays the Wasp.
Yeah.
And they're showing behind the scenes, and she's in the middle of that, all the women fighting together.
Yeah.
And she like asks one of the Russos, like, so how do I know these girls? And he was like, that's the thing, is you don't, but you're in the middle of a crisis, you're all there in the same place, and you look at each other, you're like, we got each other, and then you go. And so that was like her motivation to go forward. And then in the movie, when she first appears through the porthole, everyone else is like charged forward. She's like, it's happening, and then she charges forward. So it was like a nice like tiny details, like what? Because for her, she just like evaporated when they went to the van.
Yeah.
And then when she woke up, they're in a war of like the largest scale, like minutes later, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, was it a pep talk from like Wong? It's like, okay, blah, 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 you've been gone for 5 years, okay, let's go. Like, you know?
Yeah.
So if you look at that
That's
scene,
really cool that they threw all
everyone
that detail
around her, including Howard the Duck, is all like, motherfucker, yeah, you know? And then she's like, sure, let's go. Like,
Why not?
And then she's just good with it for the rest of the time. She's just,
I do love that line though, where like, you know, it brings it back from the Ant-Man and the Wasp movie, to where like he's like, well, Cap called me. He's like, who? Like,
oh yeah.
and he's like, I got it, Cap. And like,
Yeah.
So I love that. I love all those callbacks.
Yeah. I don't know, there was something else from like Ant-Man that was like, he ended up being like the crux. I don't know. I'll think of it.
There's so
time.
many. There was so many that were like amazing. Kind of like that Cap and Bucky were like, you know, you're taking all the stupid with you. Kind of
from the first movie.
Yeah. It's like verbatim back and forth.
Yeah.
Which leads you to believe that he knew, like he talked like beforehand.
I think they talked, or something else happened in the timeline where he had that shot, and maybe that's something we see in the What If.
Yeah.
Or something. Actually, that was
Is the What If supposed to be cartoon?
I don't know.
Because it didn't say anything about Haley Atwell actually being in it for like in live action. It said something like she's not being live action. So I'm like, so what's going on then?
That would
Must be a
make it a little
cartoon
bit
or
easier
something.
then, right?
Yeah.
That was
she's
the reason.
Intelligent.
That's the reason someone brought up 2988 was that might be a What If, like not like the time jump thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Speaking of Haley Atwell, this doesn't have anything to do with like Marvel stuff, but a little plug. This week, the movie Blinded by Light came out about Bruce Springsteen's music and this kid who grew up on it. It's the whole thing. Go watch the trailer. But Haley Atwell's in that movie. She's the teacher. She's fantastic, and
She's great in everything she does.
there was just coming. People know like my whole spiel about representation and stuff. It kind of started with this movie because I didn't realize it could happen like correctly. There was a real risk for her to be like the white savior of the film, but she's fantastic. And she's good in it. It was written really well, and she like played a really like integral part, like as a Caucasian British woman in the lives of like these Pakistani people and stuff. I mean, it's gorgeous. So you just to see the movie.
I imagine that's got to be hard because you don't want it to necessarily. You want it to be in the real world. You
Yeah.
want it to be about Pakistani family, but then you're gonna have to have some white people or some whatever other people in it. It'd probably be hard to keep them not extremely involved in that process.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When they're writing.
I think in this case there was a little bit of an advantage in that like it was based on a memoir, so there was obviously inspired events happen. Now, granted, nobody should go see the movie and think that everything is exactly true because Sarfraz, who his life is the basis for the movie, the kind of like little nod throughout the movie is like he gives the character in the movie everything he didn't have growing up that he wanted. So that's like kind of the nice like fantasy side of things. But as far as like writing, and this could go into the MCU movies too, because what's the martial arts film that's coming out?
Oh, Shang-Chi.
I'm hoping. Do we know who's writing that yet?
I'm sure they do. I don't know.
Because with stuff like that, like where it's going to be like in like a certain community, like Luke Cage is a very distinct cultural community and stuff. It works wonders to have at least a handful of the primary amount of writers come from that world, you know. So for like Haley Atwell didn't write Blinded by the Light and stuff, and she probably like not that she would have written it, but even I think someone in her stature would like realize that like maybe that's not completely her space, you know, like she's an actress, she brought what she brought to it, but like the narrative was driven, since the main character is a person of color, the writers was that, and so like I feel like it treats everything like a little bit easier if he's the main character. I mean, if Haley Atwell's the main character, then someone like her should be like kind of maining like the story, you know, and stuff. But I think that's the biggest difference is like whoever the main character is, the writers should have like a majority of experience from that perspective, and that includes the fantasy films and stuff, because I think it helps it not seem as clunky.
Yeah.
Because it would have really, because minor spoiler, Haley Atwell in Blinded by the Light is an English teacher. Would have been so easy for her to just like fix everything, you know, like. And so in I don't know, it's like she's just as great as she is as Peggy Carter in this. In fact, she's been Peggy Carter so long. I
couldn't not see her.
I was like, you're Peggy Carter's your English teacher, like. You know?
Well, that Winnie the Pooh movie she was in, she was like the wife of Ian McGregor.
Oh,
so
really?
Yeah.
I still haven't seen we wanted to see that when it came out, and then just like life happened, we didn't get to see it.
It's good, but and you'd think there's gonna be like a big twist or something weird's gonna happen. It's very straightforward. It's very like, this is little bit of heartwarming.
It's just
straightforward.
Pooh Bear story.
Yeah.
So it's Blinded by the Light.
You know, it's a Christopher Robin story because he's older.
Robin story.
Didn't they do one of those when we were a kid too?
When he was older?
Like a Christopher Robin's like perspective thing. I
mean,
not when he was older, but like.
No, I don't think they did that. But it was based, like they had him in the whole thing, so it wasn't just like, this is Pooh when he's away from everybody all the time. That one show though, that was in the '90s, I was very connected to. Like I loved that show.
Yeah.
It's almost like you'd see that like opening song and it's like make you cry a little bit.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, I was just a little kid watching that show.
Do you play Kingdom Hearts? Or
Yeah.
have you played Kingdom Hearts? When you get to the Pooh level, it's both adventurous and heartwarming, and I don't know how they did it, but it's what makes it a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Like you go to Pooh Corner, it's a book. You jump in to the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And then the tree is a puzzle.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how to jump up and get the beehive and everything. And it's like, and it's these Final Fantasy characters trying to help Pooh find his honey. It's so heartwarming.
to me, I've never played that game, but that just blows my mind. Like, so wait a minute. So we got Disney, right?
Yeah.
And then we got Final Fantasy characters, right? And they're fighting alongside Disney characters like Donald and Goofy.
When Disney kids grow up and smoke pot, like you get Kingdom Hearts.
All right, I mean, like, it sounds fun, but it's just weird. But all right,
it's weird. It shouldn't have worked, but like all
apparently
three.
everybody loves it.
Yeah, I haven't played the third one, but the first 2.5, because there was like two games and then like a PSP game. They're
I
all
love
over
the Angry Video Game Nerds like recap of all of them because he's like, it doesn't make any sense because they had like a bunch of them. They're like, they redo them or whatever, and
it like technically, I think if you know all the ins and outs, it makes sense. But very few people can, because you have to own like 7 different platforms or something. Not 7, maybe like 5 or 6 different platforms and play several games.
Yeah, all kinds of different games.
Going back to the What If series, it is going to be animated.
Oh, that's cool.
This is What If animated series coming to Disney Plus, which makes me a little bit sad. Like I would have liked to see Peggy Carter be ripped and like be Captain America. Like I've been.
I guess maybe that's how they're going to get away with like all like the special effects craziness and stuff. That kind of reminds me of this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but the Dora the Explorer movie came out.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I kind of want to see it now.
I want to see it too
because I saw this YouTuber review it saying like, and the title was Dora the Explorer is insane. So, I guess Danny Trejo.
He's Boots, right? Yeah.
Okay, and then
somebody else's swiper and it's big.
Dora and Diego are like teenagers in high school, and so everybody was like, "Well, her backpack isn't talking and stuff." Apparently, I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I've heard this everywhere, so I guess it's not. Like, she goes into like this weird woods thing with these giant like flowers in the jungle, and she brushes up against it and gets high. And then the backpack and everything starts talking and things, and I'm like, now I want to see this because they worked in that plot point where all the things talk, and they even
it's the map,
and they even go and they even go as far to be like, why is the fox wearing a mask? Like
I've never watched Dora the Explorer.
Man. I remember watching it when I was dating Amy in college. And at the time, the girl I was dating, she had a similar haircut to Dora, so like we watched 1 or 2 episodes with our group of friends to be like, oh look, it's Amy, and then we were just cracking up. We weren't even like smoking or anything. We were just like, this is hilarious if you're not a child, like, because she was just like dead stare at the camera, like, can you count? And there's just silence.
Silence for like 5 seconds.
And they do that in the movie too. Yeah. So I saw it in the trailer.
The trailer, like Michael Pena's like, I think she'll grow out of it. Yeah, like, I love Michael Pena, by the way. I love that dude. Like
he's
everything.
so funny.
He's an Ant-Man.
Yeah. So I saw a meme the other day. It was like Michael Pena, like in the first Ant-Man movie, where like he picks up Paul Rudd's characters, and he's like, hey, how's things going? He's like, well, my mom died, and my dad got deported, and this or whatever. But I still got the van, right?
Yeah.
But now, Endgame, they blew up the van. So he's got nothing.
He's got a company.
It's true, he's got the company.
What was the company's name again? It was something funny.
Oh, it was like former ex-cons. You know how I know that?
Ex-con security.
Because I when Infinity War came out, I got that on my birthday. I bought the physical copy, and then it had a thing inside for the Disney Movie Club, and I joined it so I could get all the Marvel movies at like a fraction of the price. And there were these extras in. I got an ex-con patch, like for like a jacket or something. I have that at home. That's the only reason I remember that.
I like when they're trying to buy the donuts. It's like, don't buy those donuts; it's too expensive. I'm lying to you. We're out of money. Like, we got nothing.
It's so funny.
Such a good like I love when they take people that are like they'll bring in characters from movies or television shows that were never real, and like they'll add them in, and those will be the best characters because they will let like these people that need to write something different from like whatever they're given for the material, like that gives them an area where they can create a new character or create like another plot line that's not part of like whatever the source material is, and like that's why I love that part of the movie. And don't like when they stream go away from like most of the source material. So that's a great area where they can just go ahead. So create Ned. I don't care.
Right. Make cool things.
This is interesting too because I read this theory that might just be completely off because who knows what the writers are thinking. But someone had this theory that Thanos in the second snap, or if the first maybe, one of the two snaps, created Galactus, and we're about to find out.
Oh, weird.
Because they were saying like this is purely going off the assumption that Thanos has everything planned out. Because if you think of like the Earth alone, they were pointing out that like in the 50s or 60s, the Earth's population was at half or whatever it was now. So he's like in another like few decades, his whole thing would be undone. So he would want like an insurance plan for happening. So what if he created like the Eater of Worlds to kind of like keep it's like a Roomba. It's like a Galactus Roomba, you know,
Roomba.
like
I would love to have that as like the next part where you can bring in the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. Then we can go after Galactus or something like that.
I did see that there was an article here about it was how the X-Men were going to be used.
Oh, it was what they said they would have done with the X-Men in the movies, and they said they would have gotten rid of everybody but Wolverine. Which
That's
I think
hilarious.
is closer to the comics. I think they get rid of a lot of people in the snap.
okay.
So,
Interesting.
I want to reread those comics because I forget what.
it's such a long time ago that I read them.
Scarlet Witch, she was like the reason, or like she destroyed the entire world, right? In the comics or something like that.
No, that's different.
What
That
was that?
creates. What is that? When she basically goes nuts and she creates a separate kind of universe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I saw a theory too that Scarlet Witch may create the X-Men or the Mutants or something.
Yeah. With this she's in the new multiverse movie of Madness with Doctor Strange.
She's going to be the villain?
I don't think she's gonna be the villain. But
I saw
things
that she might be the villain or something.
I heard. I saw an article saying that Quicksilver might be in it. So
Bring the Batboy back.
goodness.
You're right. You'll
I
be
would have
messed
loved to
up
see him
if-
in Endgame.
You'll
That'd
be
been
messed
fun.
up if it's the Quicksilver from the Fox universe. They're like, hey, we're crossing
It's
timelines.
multiverse, yeah.
I'm
It'd have
so
been fun
fast
to
I'm crossing timelines.
had Spider-Man in it, and then you could have all like Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
Yeah.
You could have Donald Glover.
This
in
is
it
kind of
too.
backtracking a little bit to the
Smiles.
New Mutants thing, but I also read that Disney canceled 246 Fox movies,
Yeah.
which is hilarious. Because I read some of the ideas, and I'm like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't do that. Like they were talking about like a Mega Man movie.
I would love a Mega Man.
Unless
movie.
that was animated, well, by Fox.
Okay, you got me
You
there.
know, like they were like, let's make this gritty and realistic.
I wonder if Capcom would actually make a movie. Or
If they had the money.
before.
And then they were also going to do a Magic the Gathering movie.
I heard about that one.
Which could have been good, but you know that they wouldn't have done that. Like
We should watch the Street Fighter movie and then just do one whole episode of just talking about the Street Fighter movie.
I'm down for
because-
that.
Well, we should do that with the Mortal Kombat movies too. Though.
Yeah.
Because I would love to rewatch all these movies.
The first Mortal Kombat movie is not like if you can put yourself in the head of you at that time, fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't a little bit more like the Scorpion Johnny Cage fight, the whole movie.
Yeah.
But I had no other reference. There was no other video game movie that was like doing the major film. So I was like, okay, well, this is what it is, you know? Then even Street Fighter, I didn't mind so much.
Oof, it is rough, dude.
It's rough.
I haven't seen it in a long
The only
time.
things I remember being upset about at the time were the things they changed from the game. And the game didn't have that much of a story.
No.
So that's the thing that upset me was like, there's not much story here, so you could have written so many other things instead of changing the few things.
There's a lot of like fan service of like just little things. Like at the end of the movie, you see the guy that's playing Dalsim like in like a funny like, you know, in his outfit or whatever it is. But like he's a doctor at the beginning of the movie, so he's in like a white lab coat or whatever. But like for some other reason, at the end of the movie, he's in his full garb for no apparent reason. Yeah. And was it Barack or not? What's it?
Blanca.
Blanca. Like
is
just
like Guile's
appears,
partner.
Yeah.
And then he gets experimented on.
So
that.
Weird.
It's really convoluted. I saw, I forget where I saw this, but that Capcom had demanded that every character in the roster of new fighters be represented in the movie, and that's why the cast was so huge.
Oh, okay.
There was one character though that was like the Bruce Lee character that wasn't in it, and they replaced him with this Lieutenant Sawada, who's also in the video game. And I haven't read more about it, but I saw some like conspiracy theories that he was being groomed by some like a government or like a big studio to be like the next big actor. So they were like, let's just switch his character out with this like new face. But he's terrible. He's like literally the worst actor in the movie. If you remember, he stands up and gives his dialogue, and it's like high school improv level. Yeah, like
it's weird. Well, you also got Ming-Na Wen. She plays Chung Li in the movie.
I didn't mind her. I thought she was a great Chung Li.
I thought she was great too. I mean, like that's pretty. To be honest, like I think her role is probably the best fitting of all of them.
She was like a news reporter, and then she goes in. The news reporter thing was a little weird for me when I was a kid, because in the game she's like very sexualized, which nowadays I don't know what you think about that, but like in the 90s it was perfectly acceptable. And so I was like, she's a news reporter? Like I already have April O'Neil in my head for that, so I don't know like.
But even April was kind of sexualized. Like,
yeah, well,
I was at this arcade. You look at the side of the arcade.
Well, that's
like,
what I mean though.
Very
like, in my head, it was like that was already that slot was filled, like sexy reporter, you know. So I don't know. I mean,
amazing.
I mean, at the same time, like you take a look at like Guile and everybody else. They're like half shirt off, like ripped, ginormous. Like so, you got the opposite thing there.
But see, then Guile confused me because he was the All-American hero, but he was like Austrian or something because he was Jean-Claude Van Damme, like whatever Jean-Claude is. He had, I mean, I guess he was still an American soldier, but he had like a thick accent.
He's very, well, it's Jean-Claude Van Damme.
He's
his
not
accent,
well, he is American, but he's not like from, that doesn't make any sense either.
It was just interesting because like in the games, his voice was always like the most like G.I. Joe, hey, you know, like, and it wasn't that in the movie. But I did, so I saw
like a French accent.
I saw this interview with like one of the heads of Capcom, and the interviewer was like, so what about that big goof Street Fighter the movie? And he was like, you think it was a goof? He's like, we make $1 million every time that appears on any streaming or television service. He was like, he said it's like a major source of income for that studio, because when they licensed the movie rights out, they did it under circumstances they would get to keep half like revenue.
Oh, weird.
Forever.
Okay.
On it, because they also invested in it, so it was like it's a cheesy movie, but it still makes a ton of money because people like us will probably still watch it. Like,
that's true. I mean, like you sit down and you're like, what's going on? What is this? Like, oh, I'm gonna watch this, and it's cringy, but it's watchable. I mean,
I like the cartoon one. That
movie. Dude, the anime was so dope. You got to see the anime.
Did you know, like a few years back, the girl that played Lana Lang in Smallville was Chung Li in like some weird Chung Li movie?
That was pretty bad. So that's the thing. Street Fighter.
Did you see it?
A little bit. I just stopped watching it because I think that came out when we were in college.
I had a crush on her.
A little bit after.
And I started watching it because Chun Li was my favorite character in Street Fighter, and I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is so bad. And that's the curse of the fighter movies, right? Street Fighter, not great, but Mortal Kombat, not perfect, but pretty good.
Yeah.
But then Mortal Kombat Annihilation, complete opposite.
It's adapting a video game. It's really hard to do. To be honest, I feel like the first Resident Evil is like the only one that's really kind of nailed it.
It's the same guy that did Mortal Kombat.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. I think he got that because of Mortal Kombat. But the thing that I hope they do with this movie that they messed up on in the first Mortal Kombat movie is Mortal Kombat does have a huge amount of lore. Like, John Tobias wrote entire comic book series parallel with the game. And in the game, if you played the arcade game, they had these bios of characters, and the bios...
Before and after.
Yeah. And the bios all interlaced. So Street Fighter, the stories were all kind of like in themselves, and they didn't really connect.
Yeah.
But between all the character bios for before the game and when you won, you could figure out this whole lore.
I think the first two, though, like, things would change, though, if you won as a certain person, right?
So certain character endings were canon, but all the bios before, like, you could figure out, like, oh, Scorpion and Sub-Zero are immortal enemies, and because Sub-Zero killed Scorpion's family, and you figured out all this whole thing, and Shang Tsung has had this tournament, and you have to win it only once in a lifetime, and you have to win 10 in a row, and they're on the 9th one, and that's the first game. So, like, they could have taken that whole story and just literally just done the movie. But I think, well, it's two things. In the 90s, everything has to be gritty, dark, and real. And then the second thing was they weren't allowed to go rated R with it. So it was like, how do you do that? And then they wanted, like, fairly recognizable faces and stuff. So they were supposed to be Cameron Diaz as Sonya Blade, but then something happened to her, so they got that girl from Adam Sandler's Billy Madison, who's like the next runner-up, and that was supposed to be her breakthrough movie.
See, I don't even think that she was in Billy Madison yet. I think she was in Last Action Hero first, and then she was in Mortal Kombat, and then I think she was in Billy Madison.
Nice.
They had said something about, I might be wrong, I think they said something about, like, she was in production of Billy Madison, or like had just finished, and maybe the movie didn't come out till later or something.
Maybe.
And that was like there was some studio connection where like she was like that had that happen. But I don't know, like the thing that would have like totally made, I guess that's the thing. They wanted to make a movie that more than just the video game players would like. Which at the time I guess was a safe bet because they didn't know how many how many gamers there were out there. Now though, it is very clear how big the game market is. Esports is probably like one of the largest industries on earth. So if you make a video game movie that's 1,000% true to the video game lore, you will have the fan base like down, you know? So,
well, like video games are still making a crap ton of money, largely because it's kind of like we used to be able to crack them all the time. We're still using consoles, so it's harder to do that. And or people use Steam or whatever else, so they're paying for games. Like you're paying stuff. I guess movies kind of went down a little bit for a while. Music tanked because you didn't pay for stuff anymore. But yeah, video games are still.
And like with Mortal Kombat specifically, I know I'm late to the game because I like literally because I had missed out on like 10 years of gaming and stuff. But like now everything can be updated on the fly. So like. Where when I played Mortal Kombat 1, 2, and 3, if there was a glitch, that was just the game. Now, like things are being fixed and improved. Like I noticed in the last patch of Mortal Kombat 11, when there's like a desert or a ship, when Kitana falls, she gets back up, she has sawdust on her face. That's ridiculous. Like they did an update where she gets like dirt in addition to the blood accumulation on her. You know,
it's pretty crazy, like the amount of like realness in video games nowadays. Like I'm a kind of a tech nerd because we do video and we do other stuff. I'm just learning a lot of stuff, and so I get into a lot of stuff like Linus Tech Tips or whatever, where they go through and they say like, well this. Like I think their last video was like, here's kind of PC gaming over the years, and they go through shadows changing to like to stuff being dust in the air and all these other things. They're like just crazy.
Speaking of, that just reminded me. So in the last patch update to Mortal Kombat 11, there's a character named Garrus, and he controls time, but his whole power is time, sands of time and everything. They gave him a brutality that is Thanos' snapping.
Nice.
So he can, if you hit their last move for brutality, he can like, kind of like, he doesn't snap, but he does a thing that dusts you like they did in Infinity War.
Nice.
It's a nice little like homage, there. But yeah, I don't know. Like, and if anybody, I've said this a million times before, if anybody's played story mode of Mortal Kombat 11, they could just add another few $1 million to that and just make that the movie because it was really great. Like,
to be honest, yeah.
And they went back kind of full circle. In the original game, they did photographs of people and then put those in the games. And I don't know if they did this for the last two games, but for Mortal Kombat 11, they used face models. So they didn't photograph them, but they did like shape and contour stuff. Like I follow Katana's face model on Instagram.
It'd probably be easier to do mocap.
They don't do mocap because she's not she's a model. She's not a martial artist. So they have her face. I'm sure that they mocap somebody else.
Yeah.
But they use her face for the thing, and then they They're not super
the
public,
shells.
but I don't think they're private either. So fans have been finding the models because they're also not necessarily like Katana is like, she's like Filipino or something. Like she's a dark skinned Asian, but in the game she's light skinned. So it's like it's not necessarily the same complexion. It's just like the contours and stuff. Yeah. So I think one of the successes of this game is they went back to like a human model.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to make like a polygon, like the MK4.
Yeah.
Horrific. Like.
Yeah, it just looked horrible.
But
when I was at the arcade, I thought of you though, because they had them all lined up
Nice.
on the one end, and then they had all the people signed on the photos and whatnot above it. And
That's awesome.
It was cool. It was fun.
What part of the country is that?
It's in Chicago. It's called the Galloping Ghost Arcade. They actually on Facebook, they'll release a new arcade every week. They'll bring a new arcade into their place every single week, so it's kind of crazy.
That's why though. Chicago's where Midway was, and that's where Mortal Kombat was based, and all the all but like one or two of the actors still live in Chicago. So that's probably why the autographs are there and they visit and stuff. I think the gal who played the first Katana has like a martial arts studio in Chicago.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Or somewhere in the Midwest.
It's
awesome.
awesome.
Like train with Katana.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be awesome.
Train with Katana.
Yes, please.
Fans.
And I know Daniel Pesina and like Carlos and stuff. I think they either own studios or they do shows or something like that.
It's awesome.
They're all in Chicago. That makes sense why they had the machines and stuff. So hope you like this extra long episode for missing last week. We'll be back to our normal setup soon.
Yeah. The back porch wasn't clean. I was like, hey guys, you want to go get something to eat? And so hopefully you can still hear us.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening.
Enjoy Me by Taylor Swift.
Hopefully YouTube doesn't flag us.
Yeah. Oh, that policy changed.
I did it.
And it's funny because I could finally talk about that because our friend of YouTube texted me about that after VidCon and said, don't tell anybody. And then I had to sit on it for like weeks. But now they've just announced it 2 days ago. You won't be flagged for incidental music unless you interact with it, which I guess we just did. So hopefully don't flag us.
That's why I said, oh.
Anyway, check out, you know us, RKVC.
Yeah, RKVC,
Band's Life. I'm actually doing new Band's Life stuff.
Oh, you
soon.
recorded some, right?
Yeah, I did. I did something at a guy that prints stuff. The Print Life. He's hilarious. I love that guy.
Nice.
So that's my first collab ever.
Awesome.
And congrats.
Thank you.
Now you need to do more.
No, no, I had to drive to Phoenix for that.
Holy moly.
So we'll see you next week. We're gonna get more breadsticks.
That's right. See you nerds later. Peace.